All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another close. The audio should be way better now that I just switched the mic. How is everybody doing? What time is it? It's 3:45, Wednesday, February 14th. We have had a hell of a market today, folks. It's been a very, very exciting market. Lots of stuff happened, and we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Palantir. We got to talk about Robinhood. We got to talk about SMCI, NVIDIA. We got a bunch of new news updates throughout the entire day on everything that has happened. I'm going to tell you guys what I've been doing throughout the day. The biggest thing I think today is obviously Palantir maintaining 25, looking like in about 15 minutes, they're going to close above 25 for the second time in the past 2 weeks. Past week and a half, because we got to 25 last week, because last week we had earnings. So, I mean, this is just incredible price action. I know the biggest of the biggest Palantir bulls. I was talking to a bunch of people today. You know, people just did not expect the price action to happen like this, which gives us a little bit of concern in terms of, is it too quick? But also, sometimes you got to sit back and enjoy the ride, and maybe it comes back down, maybe it keeps going up, but this price action is absolutely incredible. And so we're going to be discussing what happened. Shout out to our boy Chad in the chat. 25 is a good number. 25 is a very good number. I'm going to put Chad's Twitter in the chat. If you have not followed him, I'm not going to say who he is, but if you just go to his profile, I am pretty sure if you like Palantir, you will probably follow Chad. So there's his Twitter right now in the chat. Please make sure to follow him. He's an awesome guy in the community. And I think he understands a little something about Palantir. Philip Rizzo, Alan, Ben George, Eric Wood, AG, The Channel, Ray, Death, Lowatt, Other Zinc, Valero, Johnny Mac. Valero says, hello again, Amit, in capital letters. Hello again, Valero. You can interpret how I said hello again in capital letters to you as well. Thank you for being here. Sonam, Johnny Mac, Amit closed the market early. Yeah, we just want to leave the gains, right? We don't want to risk it the chance at all. Jerry, Noodle, Brandon, Alex, Colorblind Collector, Oscar, Gift Magic, Eric. All right, let's get into it. Wow, Alex says, I'm supposed to be watching after 4 mental health patients right now, and you drop this. Dude, you got to just make sure by the side of your eye, no one goes astray. Everything's good. And you got to continue watching the market close, because we got a whole market to close, even if you got other responsibilities. No, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone who is here. Some of you are at work. Some of you are just coming home. Some of you guys are tired from work. Some of you guys are hungry right now. Whatever you're doing, thank you for being here on the market close with me. It's just, we had like 1,400 people in the morning. It is, I can't even explain the words. So thank you all for being here. It means the absolute world to me. And I'm hoping you get some value out of this. You enjoy it. You get some entertainment, and that we keep this going, because we're playing the long game on YouTube, and we're trying to be here for a very long time. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Okay, so I think let's start off with some of the moves I made today in the market, and then we'll talk about Palantir. So here are the options we have right now. Obviously, if you were here in the morning, you saw what I was doing with Robinhood, and Robinhood ended up doing pretty good today. It actually sustained its value, even though it fell intraday. And when it fell, I'm actually proud of myself. I didn't panic. Whereas in the past, I definitely would have panicked and I would have sold. And I think it's just a little bit more maturity as an investor, recognizing, wait, you've done enough due diligence on the company. You went through the earnings. God knows how many times. At this point, I think I went through the earnings deck at least 5 times. And this is what you do when you're an investor and you've got serious money on the line. You actually read, what's happening. And as a result of that, I've concluded that, dude, this is a great earnings, and this is stupid if the price action goes to $11 or $10, because I'll buy more. And when you have that level of conviction, it gets really exciting as an investor, because nothing seems scary anymore. So we dipped, as you can see right here, to about 1290 intraday, 1280-ish. But now we're back at 1337. So what did I sell? I'm up 17,000 on the main position. I had 440 contracts in the morning. I now have 360. So I sold 80 of the contracts. Now remember, the goal on this position is to get out the initial 30,000 I put in. So far, we have recovered out of that initial 30,000, 11,295. So we have recovered 37% of the initial position that I wanted to recover. We sold all 80 of these at an average of $1.29 a contract. We bought them for 78 cents. So we made 65% on these contracts in about a month and a half, since I really loaded up on these in December. So 65% in about, a month and a half is not too crazy. And we got back 11,000 out of our 30,000 initial. I could get the other 20,000, but the more I look into earnings, it doesn't seem wise to take those, even if we go back to 10 or 11, or there's a macro pullback, S&P pulls down 5-6%. Again, these contracts expire in 2026. The narrative has changed for Robinhood, and because of that, I think that things are going to be all right. Things are going to play out. And so we're holding on to the rest of those contracts. My Roth IRA position is not doing well, quite frankly. I thought this would be up a lot more. I thought this was going to double. And in the morning, it almost doubled. It was up 74%. Now it's kind of stuck at that 30%, which is great. But I really thought this was going to be a bigger winner, and it's not. The options volatility, the implied volatility is actually crushing some of these options. So we're up 43%, which is awesome. But, I really wanted a 1x, 2x on this. So 76 cents, I'm going to leave it here. Robinhood's at 1338. My thesis is that Robinhood's going to keep performing. Deposits are amazing. Bitcoin's doing fine. So Robinhood should, by the end of the year, at minimum, get closer to that $15, $16, $17 range, if not 20. And if that happens, then there's no reason to sell these right now. So we got back 37% of our initial. We freed up a ton of cash in case there's a major collapse and we can buy the dip. And Robinhood's still holding 1330. Maybe it doesn't over the next couple of weeks, but right now, if it was going to sell off dramatically, I feel like it would have. And I think even if we get a pullback of 5% on the S&P or whatever, I don't know if Robinhood goes back to $7, $8. At the worst case, maybe there's 20% downside to this. Maybe we go back to 11, maybe 10.50, but I don't know. And then it gets more stupid if it goes back to those numbers. So I think the street is realizing, all right, fuck it. We got to buy. We already own this thing, 75% institutional float. I think that's just going to keep going higher. And we'll end up seeing what happens. Coinbase is tomorrow. Yes, Coinbase is tomorrow. We'll be talking about that. Okay, let's hear Vlad talk for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to talk about Palantir and see how Palantir ended up doing. We got 2 new press releases from Palantir, and we got a new Carp interview. I'll be live at 8 p.m. on the channel. So if you haven't seen the Carp interview, you can watch it with me. It seems like it's a good interview given what I've heard from it. So we'll hear about that at 8 p.m. We'll watch it together. Here is Vlad on their earnings today.
Thank you so much for being here in person.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start where Brian really kicked off there with net deposits and the sheer amount of money you're seeing flow in from others like Fidelity, which you mentioned by name on the call. Part of this has been some of the promotions and incentives for people to move money. What gives you confidence that people are still going to transfer money to Robinhood after some of those promotions end?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a combination of things. I'd say the promotions have been an element of it, and really we're able to offer these promotions because we're a technology company and we've lowered the cost of servicing these customers relative to a traditional brick and mortar institution. And right now for gold customers, we're offering not just a 3% match on contributions into retirement accounts, but on 401k rollovers and incoming transfers as well. And really, the idea there is we can offer this because we are a technology company. Our cost of servicing is correspondingly lower. And it's a great value proposition for people that are moving in larger accounts and who have accumulated assets because you get an immediate boost to your retirement savings through it.
Brian mentioned that as well. $100,000 was the average size of the transfer. Has that changed at all the demographics of the average trader on Robinhood? You guys have sort of had this reputation of being for younger, first-time, really active traders. Is that a misconception at this point? What does your demographic look like?
Well, if you remember about a year and a half ago, as the market changed, we sort of changed the strategy and the business quite fundamentally. We said we would focus on 3 things. One is actually serving active traders rather than simply novice first-time investors. We've been focused on growing wallet share with customers. So not just being sort of like the side account or the account for discretionary investing, but doing more of the retirement, more of the savings. And then the third thing being expanding internationally. And it's always good to see sort of like some of the results coming in because these sorts of strategic shifts take time to execute and to actually reflect in the business model and the financial profile of the company. But yeah, I'd say the results of this quarter show that that's actually working. You see gold subscribers growing 25% year over year. You're seeing continued growth in market share for equities and options. Right. And that's sort of a testament to all the improvements we've made on the active trader side. And then now you're seeing these like strong inflows where you have people putting in, 6 figures, 7 figures plus into Robinhood, which wasn't really a story that people talked about or really associated with Robinhood. But the experience actually is quite good, not just for a small account, but for larger accounts as well.
What are they buying? What are you seeing in terms of trading activity on Robinhood?
Well, the accounts that are moving in tend to have larger portfolios that they've been holding elsewhere. So you've been seeing those moving in. But yeah, if you look at Q4, you've seen continued strength in equities market share. So equities market share actually went up by 14% year over year.
Yep.
Options market share also went up considerably. And the crypto market share has been quite strong. And, as we kind of announced in the November and December metrics, that increased substantially as well. So we kind of see market share coming to Robinhood from across the board in all assets that we offer.
Okay, so obviously Vlad is pretty bullish. I just got the notification from Robinhood. SoFi, wow, look at that. SoFi's up 5% today, $8.41. I didn't even keep an eye on SoFi really throughout the day. So SoFi, shout out to people who are on the SoFi train. We got SoFi as well, having a great day. So this is a great day for the entire market. I mean, this is a great day for the entire market. The PayPal is also green. PayPal is 1% up somehow. The market is so green, PayPal had to turn green. Things that are red, Apple, Airbnb. I'm very confused why. I didn't get time to research them today, guys, but I'm going to try to research them tonight. I didn't even get to look at the earnings report. I have no idea why they're down, but $6 billion buyback, in my opinion, seems exciting. So I don't know why the market's so upset, but that's down. And then you've got Upstart that's down 19% because it's Upstart. JetBlue's down a little bit. Tesla Q is down. Tesla is up. But outside of that, the broader markets are green. 188 on Tesla, up 2.4%. It was 183 yesterday. SMCI, story of the day, 11% up. Does it make sense? I don't know. Now here, I'm going to show you guys, actually my friend tweeted something underneath my tweet asking if it made sense, which dare I say doesn't make it sound that crazy. And then we'll talk about Palantir. Obviously, there's a couple of new press releases we have to discuss, but Palantir, it looks like we're going to close above 25, which is great. It's just great. $25. If we never go below 20 again, we're just on a new leg of growth for this company. So here's my boy, Meyer Thacker, who said SMCI is moving up along with EPS estimates and trades at a 36 PE using current full year 2024 earnings estimates. Now, let me ask everyone here a question who knows a decent amount or just like a basic amount of investing terminology. A 36 PE is not insane. Amazon's at like an 85 PE. Meta's at a 36 PE. Google's at a 25 PE. That's why I was very bullish on Google. I thought it was a deep value play, right? PayPal's like at a 9 PE. Now, price to earnings really matters if your growth is very bad, because then you're paying a lot. This is the argument about Apple. Like, why are you paying a 30 PE for Apple if they're growing nothing? They're growing like 1% year over year. Only services are growing, but the actual business itself is barely growing. Because you can't be paying this much if it's not actually growing. And then that gets into PEG ratios and all that stuff. But SMCI is growing. They're growing 103% year over year. So in the context of their PE, 36, I mean, people were paying 36 PE for Facebook, growing at 18% year over year. Like 30 PE, which is 6 PE less than SMCI for Apple, that's not growing. Than SMCI for Apple, that's not growing. So, I mean, as crazy as it is, I think the number of 881 is primarily due to the fact that there's 55 million shares and they haven't done a stock split. I don't know how crazy it is if these guys, go to 1,000. And then if they do a stock split, then it's going to get really fun, right? But if you look at their PE, and again, I got to go through more of their numbers. They're trading at 3 times revenue as well. Revenue is going to be 15 billion. They're trading at 50 billion. So just a little bit over 3 times, which is not insane either. They do have hardware margins, which suck. So if there's a demand collapse, they're not going to be able to really, sustain the multiple. But I don't know, dude. Yeah, Thomas says long-term growth is what matters. But remember, analysts are projecting EPS for 2024. Long-term growth does matter. But unless analysts are pulling 2025, 2026, 2027 growth estimates into their valuation, which I don't necessarily think they're doing that because they're using the 2024 estimates of 103% year over year, maybe it's actually not that insane. Dare I say, maybe it's just not that insane. I got to do a lot more digging on this one. I'm going to go through the numbers tonight along with Airbnb and see what I can get for you guys tomorrow. But this one doesn't look like it's going down, at least today, maybe tomorrow. But it seems like maybe they could justify kind of being cheap. Wednesday, February 14th, 4 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The market is now closed. All right, so what do we have on the market close? Then we have a bunch of stuff to talk about when it comes to Palantir, and we'll keep going from there. Celsius up 4% on the day, 62. SoFi, 5% on the day, 842. PayPal, 1%, 58. Tesla, 2.5%, 188. SMCH or SMH, the ETF for semiconductors, that's up about 2% on the day. For an ETF, that's very good. If it goes up that 2-3%, right? That's not easy to do on ETF. That's, I think, now up 20 to 21% year to date. S&P, look at that, 499 on the S&P. It was at 491 yesterday. I think I was talking to Chris about this. What seems like what's happening in regards to the markets and inflation, bad CPI report yesterday, right? February and March data seems like it's going to be a lot better. I mean, all the analysts that are on CNBC saying it's like accelerating. I don't know if those people are right. At least the market is saying they're definitely not right. And if that's the case, if they're not right, if the market's actually wrong, or if these analysts are wrong about when CPI is going up or down, well, if that's the case, inflation is going to come down. And if inflation comes down, this is going to be very exciting, because if inflation comes down, I mean, like if in February and March, then why would one bad CPI report, make it bad? I think that's what the market's thinking about right now. Bitcoin, 51,683. Bitcoin holding 51,000 is incredible as well. You would think that one collapses and that one maybe has some pressure back down to 49, 48,000. Nope. 51,680. Let's look at all the crypto stocks today. They did phenomenal. You've got CleanSpark up 12% on the day, 1785. Coinbase, we'll talk about their earnings. I want to do a preview on what's going to happen in their earnings. They're at 160 right now. Coinbase's high was 187. So Coinbase is negative year to date, but Coinbase is still up more than 5x now since what is it? Since last year. And if it's up more than 5x since last year, well, you've got a lot of expectations going into earnings. But if Bitcoin continues to maintain these levels, then we're still going to get a lot of excitement right now. So we got that on Coinbase. Then we have Bitcoin 51,000. Marathon is up 14% of the day. Hut 8 Mining is up 20% of the day. Cypher is up 14%. MicroStrategy is up 12%. 769 hit 774 at one point. Robinhood obviously up 13% of the day. And then Bitfarms was up 15.95% on the day. Oh, markets closed on Monday. I think I know why. It's like President's Day or something, right? In the United States. So yeah, that's why the markets close. Okay, so then we got 2 days left. Today's Wednesday, right? We got 2 days left in this week to see how this market turns out. And so far, the market says CPI doesn't matter. Again, S&P tanked 2% yesterday, which is a lot because of that CPI report. But I think the market internalized it and was like, why are we so scared? Banks were green today. Banks are not supposed to be green, given this whole regional banking fear that exists. Truist was up about 1.32%. Where's NYCB? This is the one that was under major concern. That's up about 0.22%. So that one's still probably going to need some more confidence for people to buy that stock. But banks are doing well today as well. Pretty much everything had a good day. SoFi's up 842. SMCI again 880. Nvidia I think is up 1%. Let's go to Nvidia. Nvidia's 739. It was up 2% on the day. 2% on the day is not easy. And then obviously we've got the superstar today that did not quit. $25.17 on Palantir. $25.17 on Palantir. It's absolutely insane. I'm going to play one quick clip from Wedbush talking a little bit about what's happening in AI, and then we're going to get into earnings. We have a couple of earnings we have to discuss while this clip is playing. I'll pull up the earnings reports. We have Cisco, we have Upwork, and we have HubSpot. So we got to look at a couple of these. But here's a good clip on why AI is not stopping and why the data center revenue for a lot of these chip companies is also not stopping either. Here we go.
A deeper dive on the chip stocks, the role of AI, and to share some names he's watching. Let's bring in Matt Bryson of Wedbush Securities. Matt, welcome. Good to have you with us. Give us three names in the chip world that aren't NVIDIA that you like.
So I certainly like AMD, which Christina brought up. I think they've set themselves up as the second source to NVIDIA.
AMD. Okay.
AMD, exactly. And because they're just working off a lower revenue base, it's easier for them to grow off of that base. I like Taiwan Semi there. They are the supplier to all of the leading chip makers for AI. So whether you're talking Avago or Marvell or AMD or NVIDIA, that chip is getting fabbed by TSM. And then lastly, I like Micron. One of the concerns around memory right now is there's too much high bandwidth memory, or there will be too much high bandwidth memory. That's the memory that's used in conjunction with the NVIDIA GPUs or AMD's GPUs. And if we're going to see this continued demand for AI, what you're actually seeing is more and more memory get stacked on the boards. So
So I just wanted to play that clip because he was essentially saying that there is a lot of data center processing that is going to be happening. That's why he's talking about memory boards and chips. And all that data center revenue at the end of the day, it's going to go to a couple of players, AMD being one of those. Taiwan Semi is a crucial part of that supply chain, Micron being a part of that, and then obviously NVIDIA. And I think it's a little bit of a preview for at least how Wedbush, we know that's Dan Ives' firm, is thinking about AI, and they don't think the demand for NVIDIA is slowing down at all. And if that's not slowing down, then that's going to be, that's going to be pretty interesting to see how NVIDIA earnings turn out. Wow, Tesla's actually up about 2% after hours as well. Tesla's up. Look at that. 1.71%. What happened? Why is Tesla running after hours? I don't know if there's any news that came out, but it just looks like they got a ton of buy side pressure as we get into the market close. Okay, let's pull up a bunch of the stocks that we have to look at. Let's look at a bunch of these stocks. Zero Idala says, is this live or is this recorded live? This is live. You can find a recording of it after, but this is live right now. I just read your comment, so hopefully you believe that this is actually live. Why is SoFi up? I think SoFi went up with the broader market. There's no real reason why SoFi's up. So SoFi, again, this was algorithmic to me. So, I mean, we'll see. It'll come down if the market comes down, but they had no catalyst today. Just everything had a pretty good green day. Okay, so we have HubSpot had earnings. HubSpot is red a little bit after hours. I think they're probably still going to release numbers. Cisco has earnings today, right? Cisco's down 4%. Cisco's down 4%. And then we have Upwork. Upwork is down 1%. Okay, so let's pull up Cisco. This is the company people say NVIDIA might turn into in terms of its stock price. We'll see if that ends up happening, but let's look at Cisco. Do they have their news out right now? Let's see. Let's get on Twitter as well. We'll probably get better updates. Cisco earnings. No, nothing yet on Cisco. Let's look at Twilio. Oh, Twilio, that's a big one as well. Twilio is a huge SMS communication platform for companies. Twilio's down 10%. What happened? Let's pull up their IR. Let's also pull up CNBC. They're probably covering that live. Wow, Twilio ousted their founder for some suit they made the CEO 2 weeks ago. So let's see. Okay, so I think we got Cisco. I'll find Twilio in a second, but here's Cisco. Here is Cisco on CNBC, and then we'll get to Twilio. That's down 10%. That's big. All right.
How meaningful is that to help offset what you're seeing in terms of the demand picture this year?
Yeah, well, Morgan, it is a good question, and it's very important. As you can see, this is what Cisco, they've continue to do these restructuring moves because of their revenue is they have in their main business, there is not much growth. So in order to show good earnings, and of course the stocks do respond to earnings, they have to cut costs. And you are seeing this across the board. In fact, if you remember Meta, that was a big thing they did when they were not having, great revenue to report a couple of years ago. And they started cost cutting along with some other tech companies, and it really got the ball rolling. And of course, though, their revenue has come up. So yeah, cost cutting is.
Okay, so Cisco is just reporting bad growth, so that's why that's down. But I mean, they don't grow that much anymore, right? This is a company that hasn't really grown in a while. They pay their dividend and that's it. Palantir, by the way, has Cisco as a client for Apollo. Twilio, I think I see why they're down. I did not know Twilio is up 5% year over year in revenue. That's not good. Twilio, I thought, was one of the most innovative tech companies out there. And the reason for that, and you guys are gonna get mad at me for saying this, but if I'm not wrong, Kathy Wood owns 3 million shares of this in the RKK fund. It's number 15 in her fund. So I thought, why is Kathy Wood investing close to how much does she put in? I mean, I know she bought a little bit higher, but she has $215 million in a company that's growing 5% year over year. Dude, that doesn't make any sense. How are they making these investments? I don't get it. You would be way better putting your money into Netflix or Amazon or any of the. Why are they taking these $500 million, $250 million bets? This is the same thing with Zoom. Zoom's barely growing, and she has almost $800 million in there. Fourth quarter revenue up 5%. Okay, fourth quarter full year revenue is up 9%. I mean, $4 billion is a big number, but what is their market cap? What is Twilio's market cap? $13 billion. Wow. Twilio has a $13 billion market cap and they do $9 billion in revenue. What is this? I don't think I've ever really looked at this company. Tesla is up 2% after hours. I don't know why, but that's up. Palantir after hours is slightly down. Yeah, Palantir's at 25.13. That's fine. Maybe that's why she bought it, because she thought the valuation was crazy. But there's no way they're profitable. Yeah, they're not profitable. They still lost. They lost 800 million. Okay, so they're growing at they made 4 billion and they lost basically $1 billion. That's probably why the valuation is relatively cheap from a revenue to market cap perspective. Okay, Twilio CEO says Twilio had a terrific fourth quarter to close out a strong 2023. It's a privilege to lead the team into its next chapter as we continue to make strides on GAAP profitability. This is why Robinhood and Palantir becoming GAAP profitable. It can't be understated. Like, companies struggle so much to turn a profit, dude. Like, they just convince investors to buy the stock and then maybe they'll become profitable. To actually be GAAP profitable, like a Palantir, like a Robinhood, it's a big fucking deal. And so Twilio, they brought in $4 billion in revenue. They can't get a profit. We enter 2024 from a position of strength, and the team is focused on further delivering on customer engagement and our vision to our customers. That's tough, dude. That's tough. Twilio is a boring company. They provide an API for communication tools. I agree. So for those, for example, so like, when you're like logging on to your bank and it says like, hey, here's this code that goes to your phone. You have to type it in. That's Twilio. More likely than not, that's Twilio. So they send trillions of those messages a year. I don't know why Kathy's that excited about it. At the end of the day, it's an API for message communication. There's other companies like it. They're not as big as Twilio. There's a bunch of startups doing this stuff. But still, like, that's, I don't know why she likes that. And I also don't know why they're not profitable. Why is it that hard? It's an SMS API. Why is that so hard to become profitable? Like, if Palantir and Robinhood can get profitable, that thing should be able to get profitable. It's very, very weird. It's very weird. Okay, so Cisco, we have, let me see. Okay, so Cisco, I'm trying to get their earnings right now to make sure we get their numbers. And then we got to get HubSpot. HubSpot is another tech company that I know of decently well, but I never thought of investing in them. Cisco's cutting 5%. Wow. Cisco's cutting 5% of their employees. We'll talk about Nubank as well. Nubank is doing great. Wow. This is what makes you feel things are very weird, guys. Market's at an all-time high, and why is Cisco cutting 5%? Cisco doesn't need to do cost cutting, right? Like, were their earnings that bad they had to do cost cutting? Was it that bad for Cisco? I mean, like, Cisco is a pretty old company. You would imagine they have their shit together. If they're seeing issues, Cisco IR, they're down 5% in the after hours. Trying to get their IR, trying to get their news. Dude, why do these companies make it so hard to just see their fucking earnings, dude? Like, we need to see your earnings. Okay, here it is. I'm like, goodness, dude. It's your earnings. They're public. You're a public company, for goodness sakes. You have to show this shit. Don't try to hide it in your website somewhere like we're not going to find it. It's there. I need Bloomberg Terminal, dude. I need the terminal. I'm using Webull. It's free. You can download it. It's super easy to use. That's what I use. Webull. Okay, so Cisco, $12.8 billion in revenue. Wow, down 6% year over year. 6% year over year. They're down. Damn, dude. This is what people think could happen to NVIDIA if the demand collapses for AI. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's kind of insane to think it's going to happen. Maybe stock price might go through some volatility, but I don't know if it's Cisco in 2000. Well, that's the answer for why they're down. Revenue is flat year over year in software. Subscription revenue is up 5%. How much profit did they make on this $12.8 billion? How much net income did these guys make? I'm so curious. Do they have net income right here? They made $2.6 billion off $12 billion, which is not crazy in terms of net income. That's not too bad. That's actually not horrible. But, Cisco's not growing, so that's their issue. Cisco's not growing. I don't know if the layoffs are going to help them either, dude. Every company is like, oh, we have a shitty earnings. We're just going to lay off employees and the market will be okay. No, dude, you can't just lay people off. Unless you're right at the edge of GAAP profitability or something, which Cisco is a much mature company, laying people off doesn't just solve your problems. I mean, yeah, it'll reduce some costs, but that's not the answer for the market to buy your stock. Cisco has been at $50 over the past, what is this? This is why companies like Palantir are so important. You need something that can freaking grow. You need something that can grow. If you're investing in an asset, it has to grow in value and appreciation, all that stuff. And Cisco was 28 bucks in 2020. So 2020 was a good time. Peaked at 60 2021, got to 38 2022, and now it's at 50. But it's been pretty much at the same price range for a while. And I mean, in the 2010s, it was pretty depressed until it finally got into the 20s and 30s. And now it's been in this range of at about 50 bucks. Dividend is what? Dividend is 3%. I don't know Cisco that well, but I know there can't be the most amazing, innovative technology happening at Cisco, dude. There would be a little bit more excitement on it, and that's just not happening. Elon is now only 4.5% away from his 25% stake equals dilution isn't needed from Tesla. Elon Musk currently filed that's breaking news. Holy crap. That's why Tesla's up. Okay, thank you guys for putting that in the chat. Let's go to that right now. That's huge. So Tesla's at what? Tesla's at 190. Tesla's up 1%. That's very big news. Elon bought 20.5% of Tesla. Is that what we've got going on here? When did he buy this stuff? Okay, here's the 13G. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So Elon has $715 million out of the $588 billion that Tesla's worth. He went from 13% to 20%. So if he went from 13% to 20%, guys, if he went from 13% to 20%, that means that this mother effer tanked the stock on earnings and he bought it cheap. Could you imagine if the conspiracy theory was correct? Because when did he have 13%? Like 2 months ago, right? If I'm not wrong, he had 13% 2 months ago. Stock went to 175. I'm looking at the charts. 178. Well, no, literally it hit 175. Yeah, 175-ish. So if he bought at the lows, I mean, he tanked the stock. Everyone who was saying thanks Elon for the dip, no, he was thanking himself for the dip. He didn't care about your congratulations on the dip. He was like, that's why he's probably been tweeting all this crazy stuff. I mean, I'm sure he also just, in general is kind of doesn't care about what people think about what he tweets, but maybe that's why he's been tweeting. Maybe, dude, if that's the case, that's huge news on Tesla. That is huge. He always wanted to have above 25, so he only needs 5%. Well, here's my question also. Where the hell did he get, what, $400-500 million? We know Elon is not liquid. He publicly says he's not liquid on anything. He had to sell some SpaceX, I would imagine. He either had to sell Neuralink on the secondary markets, which in the venture capital private world just means you're selling stock to people who want to buy it in the secondaries, right? He Sorry, I just had to get an email. I was looking. So he either had to sell he either had to sell on the secondary markets, right? On Neuralink or Boring Company, or he sold some Twitter where there's no way he's in debt on Twitter. Tesla right now 190. So he had to sell some SpaceX. Palantir, where's Palantir? Palantir also 25.15 after hours. That's doing fine. He had to sell some SpaceX. Alice says that's bullish. That's very bullish, dude. Austin says, how is Elon buying? The whole reason he had to sell shares in the first place for Twitter was because he doesn't have liquidity. That's my question. How does he have liquidity? I think the way he has liquidity is because he had to sell some SpaceX. That's the only way I can imagine. He has a loan. There's no way he took out a loan for this shit, dude. 13G is through December. He did not tank it. Oh, that's a good point. 13G is through December. Earnings was in January. December, the stock was in the 200s, right? That's a good point. That means if 13G is through December, if that's correct, which I'm pretty sure it's correct, that's the last 45 days, then yeah, there's no way he tanked it. No way. Like This is interesting. This story must be developed. I wonder if CNBC is on this. They have to be on this right now. There's no way. There's no way. No, they're talking to Cisco. Okay, they're talking to Cisco. This isn't Larry Ellison loaned him the money. Maybe, dude. Maybe. Does Elon have friends with deep pockets? I mean, yeah. So here's the thing. My guess is if he did not have liquidity, what? He went from 13% to 20%, which means he had to have at least 600 million, 400 million, at least 400 to 600 million liquid. He probably got a loan from a friend who just said, hey, dude, I'll pay you back later. And like when SpaceX goes public, I would imagine that's how he did. I mean, for Elon Musk can probably make one phone call and have $1 billion sitting in his bank account tomorrow. I would imagine Elon can do that. So maybe a liquidity thing wasn't an issue. Maybe he just got some money from some friends. I doubt he did a line of credit on the shares he owns. No, because he already kind of did that with Tesla to an extent. Or sorry, for Twitter. I mean, he didn't really do that, but he obviously sold his shares, so he used those as collateral. Like, I don't think it's going to be interesting once he'll eventually talk about it, but I don't think that he went into debt for this money. I'm pretty sure someone just loaned it to him. And when you have billionaire friends, they can loan you some money, right? Like, and he'll pay them back later. It was from Joe Rogan. Yeah. I don't know if Joe Rogan's a billionaire. I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan's in the like $400 or $500 million range. I don't know if he's a billionaire yet on Joe Rogan. Bezos. Yeah, maybe he hit a Bezos. Cool Comics, that guy says he is worth 250 billion, 600 million is play money. Yeah, but none of that money is liquid, Cool Comic guy. All of that money is in, he said this publicly. He literally says he doesn't have money, you know? I mean, like, and maybe he has, you know, a couple million lying around for some expenses or whatever, but I'm pretty sure all of his money is in his companies. I mean, that's why Elon is Elon. He doesn't like to have cash. He likes to just go all in. Oh, by the way, speaking of Buffett, Buffett is supposed to be announcing the secret company he invested in. Do you guys remember Warren Buffett invested in a secret company 3 months ago, and he asked the SEC for special privileges to not report it? He's supposed to be announcing that soon. I don't know. Oh yeah, here at Barron's, they put an article out that says it might be revealed today. And that company, when they reveal it, that company stock is going to go up a lot. Yeah, February 14th, 8:45 a.m. They said Wednesday. We don't know if this is true, but they said Wednesday it should be revealed. Could you imagine? You guys know what I'm thinking. I don't think it's Tesla or Palantir. I think it's probably some boring stock that's probably deeply undervalued because there's a bunch of those in the market. But if it's Tesla or Palantir, dude, if it's Palantir, I am like, I don't even know what's going to, if Warren Daddy Buffett invested in Palantir, I mean, it was cheap at 16. Now it was pretty, he probably didn't happen, but if it was Palantir, if it's PayPal, oh my God, if it's PayPal, that I might be even more excited than Palantir, quite frankly, because that's going to be the most hilarious thing in the world. Everyone who's a PayPal bull right now is eating a lot of shit, including me. And it's kind of just like, well, we all know it's undervalued. It's just management doesn't have their shit together to be able to get the stock to go up, which is okay. If Warren Buffett invests in PayPal, which I think is one of the most deep value stocks on the market, I mean, Palantir doesn't make sense because he's not a tech guy. Tesla doesn't make sense. They don't like EVs. But if it was PayPal, now PayPal doesn't make sense either. That's a tech company. Even though it's kind of, they have American Express, right? It's not American Express, but it's not like tech to the point where it's like a search engine or it's like cloud computing. It's a pretty simple business. I would argue Buffett understands the economics behind PayPal. Now, granted, PayPal did tank 12% on earnings and Buffett would have to buy in before then. So maybe he loaded up at that 55 to 58 range and then the market just dumped it for whatever reason. If it's PayPal, dude, PayPal's going up tomorrow. Like when he bought Apple, I think Apple went up 20% the next day. I mean, if he buys PayPal, it's most likely Disney. Disney. I don't think that's a bad option either. I don't know if Disney's undervalued per se. I don't really think Disney is that interesting in my opinion. Disney Plus is not that interesting. I know they're doing a lot of restructuring, all that stuff. But Disney or PayPal are not crazy choices at all. Disney and PayPal are not crazy choices for Buffett to stick his feet in. Let's look at Nubank. Nubank had a great day. Austin says he owns Apple. Maybe he's starting to double into tech. Remember, if you listen to Buffett about Apple, it's not because of we should listen to him right now. We'll play this clip. It's not because of tech. It's because of he doesn't even use an iPhone. He just believes it's a consumer product, and he believes people like consumer products. And he thinks of the iPhone as a consumer product. That's why he's interested in it. So that's the only reason he really likes Apple. and a Palantir, it's like a SaaS play, all that stuff. Like he doesn't care about that stuff. Not at this point in his career. If he did, he would have done it years ago. Nubank is at 1040. It's up 4.5%. Nubank's market cap is 50 billion. The growth is like 87% year over year. This is a Latin American bank. And in Brazil, they're growing like crazy. I don't know the financials that well, but I do know their growth is like just exceptional in Latin American banking sector, where a lot of people in Latin America don't have a bank, and Nubank is that alternative for them. So that's at 1040. This stock was at, let's look at on the 5-year. This stock was down a lot at one point. It was at $3 in 2022. So it's a 3x if you bought it in 2022. And I think even in 2023 it was at 6 to 7. It was hovering around that range. So this is a company that just knows how to grow, and as a result, they get value from it. You think it's Siri? Well, no, that's not the secret company, because we know he's been publicly buying Siri. The company he bought, he asked the SEC for permission to not disclose, or else the stock would like go up a lot. And the SEC granted him that permission. I don't even know if that's, I don't know how the SEC just gives him I guess when you're doing this for so long, the SEC's like, yeah, we don't want to stop, we don't want something to go up like crazy. But I'm like, you're just letting this guy get richer and richer without letting everyone participate in something that is public knowledge. Like everyone should know. So I'm like, I don't get how you justify that, but I get you're justifying it in the context of like not manipulating the market, even though Buffett's basically manipulating it by getting at a really cheap price. I don't know how the SEC is like, oh, okay, no problem. But the SEC said, okay, no problem. And eventually it will be revealed, and it'll be interesting to see what it is. Jonas says, I have a hunch it might be Tesla. If it's Robinhood, if it is freaking Robinhood, there's no way. Buffett would not go against Fidelity and Schwab and Vanguard. There's no way. They've given him so much money over the past years. Like, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. Here's Buffett on Apple. Let me play a couple minutes of this. This is his justification on Apple. It wasn't about tech. It was more about, how their products are so important.
Just a little.
This is from 2018.
About 6 million of the shares are attributable to another fellow in the office that's owned it for a considerable period of time. The rest are my portfolio, but I bought just a little bit. I like to buy them cheaper. I mean, it's very difficult. I started buying when the stock was maybe 100. I was buying it kind of as fast as I could, and then I ended up buying some as high, a whole lot higher. I won't name the exact price, but a whole lot higher. I'd rather have it go down. For one thing, if it goes down, Apple's going to buy a lot of stock back. They're already buying stock back. And if it goes down 10%, it means they get to buy 10% more shares.
Buffett loves buybacks. A company that's buying back 7% of their float is PayPal.
And my interest will go up 10% more for spending that money than buying shares. So I am benefited by going down. If I were to talk my book, I would talk it down.
I spoke with an analyst today, Gene Munster, and he pointed out that the interesting thing about Apple is that for a long time, it was a very volatile stock. It kind of traded in this boom and bust cycle. Every time they had a new phone that came out, it would push the stock higher. If they didn't have a new release, it would drop. He said that it's still 65% of the business, but a lot of people are maybe looking at it a little differently. And he wonders how you look at it. Is this a boom and bust cycle, or is there something different?
Not in the least. I don't, I like to see the new release do well, or, that, but I do not focus on the sales in the next quarter or the next year. I focus on they won't tell you exactly how many, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of people who practically live their lives by it. And if you look at that little piece of whatever it is, that is some of the most valuable real estate in the world. I mean, that is
valuable real estate. He's talking about your eyes, right? Your eyes are looking at the device. You have your attention. So what he thinks about Apple is not like it's a tech company. It's that it's a consumer product that people can't live without, that is powered by technology. But that at the end of the day, there's a nice margin on that consumer product. And that's why Buffett gets like $800 million in dividends from them, because he has such a big stake. 50% of Berkshire is Apple, if I'm not wrong. So that's why he likes Apple. Dominic says Sawyer Merritt posted that nothing changed in Tesla ownership. Okay, hold on. Let me go to Sawyer's page. That's weird, because the 13G came out and said, hold on. Okay, so that's the opposite. Sawyer is saying the opposite happened. Sawyer is saying, this is a pretty good source on Tesla News. He says, Elon's 13G filing that just came out just tells you how much Tesla stock he owns. He owns 13% outright with another 7.6% in unexercised options. This is all the info we knew. Nothing has changed. Huh. I mean, that's actually making a lot of sense. He owns 13%. We know that. The stock is up because people thought he bought another 7% of it today. But Sawyer's saying the other 7% is just unexercised options. Unless he exercised those options, and maybe that's what Sawyer's missing here. If not, the entire market has got this wrong. CNBC's talking about it. Let me go to CNBC. Let's see what they're saying. Okay, here we go. We got CNBC. Let's see what they're saying.
Elon Musk after he said, look, he would like to have a greater say in the future of Tesla through voting shares and having 25% stake in the company. Well, a filing from Tesla shows that Musk now has a 20.2% passive stake in the ownership of Tesla shares. Comes out to 715 million shares of the 3.18 billion outstanding Tesla shares. We should also point out that he also holds options for another 303 million Tesla shares that he has the option to exercise and to convert into stock that he can do.
Okay, so CNBC is saying that he does have the options, but he also bought 7%. That's what CNBC is saying. It looks like, which means Sawyer might not necessarily be correct that that's not exactly true, that he didn't buy 7%.
By March 2nd. So as of right now, it is a 20.2% passive stake in Tesla that is controlled by Elon Musk.
Oh, wait, no. I think what's happening here is that I think they're combining the stock options plus the 13%, and that gives you a 20%. But it's a passive stake because he can exercise the options. Now, if he can exercise the options, that doesn't mean it's a necessarily new stake, right? It means that it was because we already knew that he had those stock options, unless those are new stock options that were granted to him, but that's probably not the case. This is still a little confusing right now.
Musk, the CEO of the company. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Phil, thank you. Now, Twilio shares sinking after reporting a lower active customer.
Okay, so that we'll go back to them on Twilio. But yeah, this is kind of weird. I'm going back to Twitter. I want to see what people are saying here. This is because either he bought or he didn't buy and he just has these stock options. And if he has these stock options, well, that doesn't mean anything. They're unexercised options. Sawyer's like a big Tesla guy who files all this news. What are people saying under his post? Are those unexercised options involved in the Delaware court case? Yes, those 304 million are the ones he got from 2018 compensation. Elon's 13% outright Tesla ownership is the main number to focus on his 13G filing. That's not what the market's focusing on. The market's focusing on a 20% passive stake. That's what the market's focusing on. Maybe it's from the new comp plan. There is no comp plan. Remember, they canceled it. So there can't be any new comp plan. For the options, it says exercisable within 60 days of December 31st, 2023, aka end of February 2024. This is very interesting, dude. This is very, very interesting. 20.5% is calculated based on 3 billion shares of common stock outstanding as of December 31st, 2023. That sounds like he bought in December, quite frankly. That options do not increase your ownership as they are not part of the paid up capital. That's correct. That's true. So there's no way we can count those unless that's the definition of what passive stake would mean, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'm pulling up the 13G as well, trying to find that out. And I'll look at that. I'll look at the 13G. But that's pretty incredible. Let's let CNBC talk about Twilio, and then we'll get back to this Elon news as I pull up the 13G, and then we'll look at it. All right, here's why Twilio's down 10%.
Customer count than analysts were expecting. Joining us now is Mizuho's Siti Panigrahi. Good to have you. So these results, I mean, we had already gotten a bit of a pre-announcement from them at the beginning of the year around leadership changes, but this is still a big reaction.
Yes, indeed. Look, I think they reported Q4 ahead of consensus expectation that they already pre-announced, like you said. But I think what is disappointing is their March quarter guidance. Revenue is kind of light of expectation. There are expectation was $1.05 billion, but they are $1.25 to $1.35. That's a little light on the revenue side. Because remember, the key question for Twilio is, can they accelerate revenue growth? But I think what is impressive is the margin.
Okay, we got an update from Gary Black. It seems like the market might be getting this wrong. This is what Gary says. Gary saying lots of confusion about the 13G filing after close. Bottom line, he owns 13%, 411 million shares of Tesla, not 20.5% as shown in the filing, just as he did last year's 13G filing as of 12/31. He includes the 304 million options from his 2028 comp plan, even though he has not yet exercised them. All right, so that's exactly what Sawyer said. That's how you're getting to 20.5%. The question is, how do you get those extra options as counting as a passive, as a legitimate stake if you have not exercised them? I don't know. That is interesting. That's really, really interesting that we're seeing right now here. The market's reacting positively to it. The market's reacting positively. Here's the actual 13G. Here's the actual 13G. This is where you're getting the 13G. Yeah, he has the voting power of 700. I think this is why the market's excited, because he has 715 million shares of voting power. That's 400 plus 315. So boom, that's how you get your 715 million. And that right there is what the market's saying. Okay, Elon owns 20.5%. Boom, there you go. That's how he gets it. Tesla is up after hours on this news. Tesla's 191 right now. Tesla was 183 yesterday. So that was we'll see if this holds, but that was a nice dip if you got in at 183 yesterday. We'll see if it continues, but there you go. That is what it's looking like. It's looking like the market doesn't care. If this is fake news, I can see the stock crashing tomorrow. Yeah, it's looking like the market says, well, based on the filing we got, which is from the SEC, it's all legal and everything else, 715 million shares is way more than 411 million. It's 7% more from the 13% you had. Gary and Sawyer's argument is, well, he's just using the unexercised options as part of his entire voting power. And we're probably going to get some clarity soon in terms of, what that ends up looking like. Think Real says Elon's 13G filed after the close. Bottom line, Elon still owns 13%. Yeah, that's what Gary. Yeah, we just looked at what Gary Black said. Wow, what a day in the markets. Let's check on Palantir and SMCI, see how they're doing. And yeah, yesterday 183 was not really a dip on Tesla. I mean, we could go back there easily, but I mean, the market is happy that it looks like Elon may have exercised these shares as part of his compensation. But we need a lot more clarity to see if that actually is happening. The voting power is what matters. Yeah, that's another good point, Hector. I mean, the voting power ultimately is what the market cares about, because that shows that Elon has control. And so if you slice it a bunch of ways and the 13G shows that he has 715 million shares of voting power, that's a lot more voting power than he had before. Palantir up in the after hours, 25.20. That's incredible. SoFi's down a little bit. Where's Robinhood after hours? Bitcoin 51,613. Robinhood 13.27, so it's down slightly after hours, about 1%. Nubank at 10.47 after hours, and then Tesla is up again at 191. Back to Buffett's secret company. Dude, I'm so curious what Buffett bought. I don't know if it'll be revealed today. If it's PayPal because of the buybacks, and PayPal's not really a tech company, so it kind of fits their status, I think that would be me. Like, again, PayPal's, I think, the biggest deep value play in the market. If you just look at the core DCF, the fundamentals, the market's pricing in 0% top line growth, 0% free cash flow growth. These are numbers that are just not going to happen. PayPal grew 9% last quarter. That's not explosive growth, but when your market cap's 63 billion, you're doing 30 billion in revenue, 1 billion in net income a quarter. That's pretty damn good growth. It's definitely better than a 60 billion market cap type of growth. So I don't think that would be the craziest idea. Disney is at 111. Disney bottomed at 79 in July. That's when Elon was like, well, in September, Elon said, "Go F yourself." But that was more December. He said, "Go F yourself." And that's when Disney was like 89. So Disney's done really well since then. It would be interesting if he bought Disney. It'd be very interesting. Imagine he bought SMCI. Could you imagine he bought SMCI, dude? Could you imagine? The thing with PayPal is just like Baba. Everyone knows that it's undervalued and best value, so it won't go up like that. Well, the one little tiny difference between PayPal and Baba, small difference, not a big deal, but small difference, is one is under the control of the CCP and another one is simply under control of Wall Street. It's way easier to convince Wall Street than it is to convince the CCP. So I don't know, dude. I get the comparison in terms of just the deep undervaluation, but I think the market attitude is just different when it comes to PayPal, or when eventually what will happen with PayPal versus Alibaba, because people are scared of China. It could be something with a large dividend. I don't think it's going to be another bank like TFC. I think would be a great play for him. It might be Verizon, guys. You know, we've had Chris talk about Verizon for a while. Verizon was in the 30s. Now it's at 40. Fair value, most people argue, is around 47. Verizon had an 8% dividend when it was at $30. Now it's at what? 6.63%. I don't know if Verizon's doing any share buybacks, but now Verizon has a lot of debt, but a lot of that debt is low interest debt. I mean, to say it's not Verizon, it could be Verizon. That's possible. That's not crazy. That's not insane. Someone said Meta because of the buyback and the dividend. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Meta. The problem is Meta's, you know, he doesn't like tech. So I don't think it's going to be Meta, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Meta. One update from Michael Burry. Michael Burry has once again thrown in the towel and closed his short position against semiconductor stocks like NVIDIA and AMD. In November, his 13G showed that he was indirectly shorting by buying puts against the semiconductor stocks. I think he had about $40 million of notional value in puts. His 13G came out today, and that put position is gone. Now, maybe he closed the put position before NVIDIA went to the moon. If he closed it like yesterday and he disclosed it today, he would probably be down lots of millions of dollars. If he closed it in December when NVIDIA was at 480, where he was still underwater, but he wouldn't be as underwater as if it was at 730, then maybe he didn't take that big of a loss. I don't think we'll get the exact details because we never do for that stuff. But Burry has given up his battle against the shorts. And so that's an update on what's going on with Burry. What's going on with Google? Where's Google right now after hours? Where's Goog? Goog's at 145. Wow. Why is Google down? Guys, shout out to the Google sell. We fucking, they say you can't time the market, but we timed that motherfucker, dude. We got the hell out of Google. No, I'm just kidding. Google's going to be fine long-term. I just personally want to free up cash. And so I had to sell something, but Google's down 1.27%. Why? It was up for the day. What the hell happened with Google? Where's Mag 7? Microsoft's up, Meta's up, Amazon's up, Tesla's up, Nvidia's down, but it's obviously Nvidia. It's had an amazing run. Apple and Google not getting loved by the market today. Apple wasn't green at all today. Google was green slightly, and then it went red by 1.2% after hours. Wow, very interesting. Very interesting. SoFi would be amazing. I don't think Buffett bought SoFi. I'll just say that. I don't think he bought. He already has Wells Fargo, Bank of America. Like, I don't think he wants another bank. And by the way, the benefit to buying SoFi is the tech platform, which Buffett doesn't care about, right? That's what makes it an innovative bank. Otherwise, you're just buying a bank. Why would you buy SoFi if you wanted to bet? There's so many other banks you could buy, right? So I don't think it's that. But I guess we'll find out eventually what he ended up buying. But it's not that. Palantir right now. Oh, I got to go through some Palantir news with you guys. I got to show you guys some Palantir stuff. So Palantir's at 25.21. It's still running after hours. I want to talk about price action, and I want to talk about a couple of PRs they put out today. So hold on, give me 1 sec, and then we'll end it out after this segment. So okay, cool. Palantir. I want to look at this as well. So 13Gs and 13Fs are out, right? These are basically forms that show the ownership stake of investment firms, companies, individuals, etc. over the past 45 days. These aren't always accurate, so you have to do some type of qualitative analysis to be like, okay, XYZ firm bought XYZ stock, and they're disclosing it now 45 days ago. By the way, that means Nancy Pelosi's shit should be out very soon. We should know her stuff too. I'll see if I can find that. But they could have sold in the time of reporting, or they could have bought more. So you kind of have to say, do I think XYZ company that bought XYZ stock would have sold or would have bought? Like, imagine the stock went up 40%. Maybe the company sold out of their position, right? That's a hypothetical thing could have happened. Maybe the stock went down and the company sold, or maybe they bought more. In the context of Palantir, we saw some pretty big buys. So this is a website called fintel.io that basically shows you what happens in terms of companies that are disclosing their ownership stake. Rational Advisors, these are all as of today, bought 94,000 shares. Okay. You got Group 1 Trading that bought about 3.5 million shares. Centtiva Capital bought 85,000 shares. Canada Pension Plan bought 1.5 million. Entry Point bought 5,000. So this website just shows there are a lot of big buys. I'm trying to get a lot more of them, and I'll post them on Twitter. But we did see some pretty decent buys for Palantir all throughout the last 45 days, which means if that's true, big money might have been loading up way before the run happened, which is technically what big money is supposed to do, right? And if that's the case, they knew that earnings were going to be good, and retail that sold out of it right before earnings, they sold it to smart money. If that's the case, right? So that might be one of the things that happened. Okay, so here are Nancy Pelosi's updated holdings. I don't have the exact numbers, but here are the old holdings. Apple is 23%, Microsoft is 20%, Nvidia's 19%, Google's 13%, CrowdStrike's 12%, Amazon's 5%, Tesla's 4%, Anheuser-Busch is 4%, and Disney is 1%. Anheuser-Busch, oh no, sorry, not Anheuser-Busch. Alliance Bernstein. Bernstein. This is a new one. She hasn't bought this one before. Alliance Bernstein. That is an investment firm. She bought stock in an investment firm. Okay, nothing too exciting. Does Buffett own Disney? No, Buffett doesn't own Disney. So there are her holdings. There are holdings right there. This is updated today. Buffett, Burry, if this is right, Burry bought some Amazon and Google, if this is right. I think this might end up, yeah, I think this is updated today. Burry looks like he bought Amazon and Google. This is an app. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's called Autopilot on your iPhone, and they have this app that's basically like a tracker for specific people. That's Burry right here. Baba, Amazon, Google, CVS, and then Oracle. Oracle's new. I don't think he had Oracle before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, HCA Healthcare, that's a Palantir client that Burry bought, if I'm not wrong. I think that's the Palantir client. Yeah, HCA Healthcare. That's a Palantir client. So this is an app I use. He has JD.com as well. That's a Chinese company. He has a 7% in Baba. That's a ton of Baba. It's called Autopilot, and it just lets you know what people are buying, like big guys are buying. I want to get the exact forms, though. I need to see the exact forms on these. Buffett trimmed Apple. Okay, so Buffett trimmed Apple. That's big news. Is Apple down on that as well? Is Apple down? Apple is down about 1%. That might explain it after hours. Buffett and Apple. Yeah, wow. He did. He sold Apple. Warren Buffett, this came out 20 minutes ago. He sold 10 million shares? Yeah, 10 million shares. Now he has 905 million. He sold 10 million shares of Apple. Wow. Interesting. Buffett, so maybe he doesn't like the Vision Pro. Oh my God, dude. Buffett sold some Apple. I wonder if he bought a banana. No one leave for that joke. Please, no one leave for that joke. That was a good joke. No one leave. It was a good joke, okay? No one leave. Let's just be calm. And maybe he got some potassium. Now, definitely don't leave for that follow-up to that joke, okay? Don't leave to that either. That was a good follow-up. Now, granted, yeah, Buffett does have 50% in Apple. So, I mean, like, come on, dude. At some point, you got to trim a little bit. But he hasn't sold Apple in a while, if I'm not wrong. I know that's 1% of his holdings. I get it. But still, I think he trimmed Paramount, and the stock is down 6% after hours. Well, we know Paramount was the only thing that's going to save Paramount is a fucking buyout at this point. And they should be getting a buyout. Paramount's down 6%. Yeah. There you go. That is so interesting. 10 million shares is nothing, but still it's something to think about. Why are you like, I kind of thought there was a lot of FUD about what people were saying about Apple not growing and they're not innovating and all this stuff because they're just so big. They have buybacks, but it seems like even Buffett was like, what, a 30 PE for this shit that's barely growing is not something he can really justify. 10 million shares. Let's say he sold at what? 185 on average. That's $185 million, right? That's 185. Yeah. No, that's 1.8 billion. Sorry. I think it was 1.8 billion. That's a lot. Why is Google tanking? I don't know, dude. I don't know why Google is tanking. Maybe some 13G came out. Wow, Google down. Whoa. What is going on with Google? 2.1%. Hold on. Let me see if I can get an update on that. What the heck is going on with Google? That should not be happening. Oh, shit. Holy crap. Holy guacamole. This is probably not the news that should tank Google, but it is tanking Google, it looks like. Yeah, Mario got it. OpenAI is developing a web search product challenging Google's dominance in the field. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Here's the story. I'm probably not going to be able to get access to all of it. It's from the information. The information is reporting it. Let me see if I can get it on Twitter. Oh boy. That is not good news for Google. That is not good news for Google at all. Look, here's the link. I can't open up the thing because I don't have a subscription to this website, but that's not good news, guys. OpenAI has been developing a web search product. That means OpenAI says, look, we have ChatGPT, but we don't only need ChatGPT. We'll have a Google competitor and we'll show you better versions of the blue links that Google. You want to click on blue links? Okay, we have blue links. We got a ton of blue links. Now, granted, I mean, Bing sucks. So how much better is OpenAI going to be? I don't really know. But to say that it's not going to, I don't think it's going to hurt Google, but to say that it might not affect Google is probably a little short-sighted. There's going to be a little bit of effect on Google. This is very scary for Google, dude. This is not good. Like, this is why, again, I felt scared holding it on Monday when the market was at 503 on the S&P, because like when I looked at my Google position, I always was just like, dude, I don't feel confident in this thing. Like I look at PayPal and I'm down, 60% on PayPal. And I'm like, well, I know the value in PayPal. Eventually if the market doesn't react, then whatever, I'll lose on that. But it's not like I'm shivering with like some stupid news coming out and like PayPal goes away. Like, no, it's like, but with Google, it's not that it goes away. It's just that they have nothing to lose other than their search monopoly. 95% of the fucking business is search. Oh my. Larry says Google will smash OpenAI like a bug if they choose to. Look, maybe, but maybe not. Tired Gang says, I sold all my Google today at open because it didn't feel right anymore. Glad I got out when I did. LOL, got my bag and split at the first sign of unstable seas. Yeah, same thing, dude. I made a mistake in September. I put in a lot of money in Google. It should have been Meta. That shit would have, in the options, they would have at least 70 to 80% up, if not 2x. I mean, those options would have done very well given Meta just did phenomenal. But I picked Google, and that was the wrong pick. Now, look, let me say, I don't think Google is necessarily, I don't think this is going to kill Google, but I do think this is going to make the market nervous about Google. Like, the market is already on thin heels with Google at the end of the day because they feel like it's in a tough position with search. I'm trying to see if CNBC has any coverage on that. No, they don't have any coverage yet. That's tough on Google, dude. That's tough. Okay, so let me share this right here. Google was a great trade when it's 91. I agree, and I got into Google at 139, so it was not a good trade for me. I made $1,000, but that's it. But in 94, that's when was the time to get in Google. Palantir is up 25.22, and Peter Thiel called this. Have you guys seen the clip of Peter Thiel talking to Eric Schmidt about this? I did a video on this a while ago. I don't know if you guys remember it. But Peter Thiel basically told Google, like, you guys don't innovate. Like, you guys don't innovate, and you guys are resting on your laurels. And during that time in 2012, guess what Peter Thiel was doing? He was building one of the most sophisticated software companies in the world, aka Palantir. And he was saying, hey, we know where the world's going. And if we know where the world's going, why don't we, take a bet on where the world's going, not where the world has been. And so during that time, Google got lazy. Google didn't. I mean, for the past 10 years, what did Google do, right? This is Thiel real quick. Here's like a minute of him talking about this, and then we'll go back to Google. Down about 2% right now. Palantir up after hours.
Specific and the general. Google is a great company. It has 30,000 people. They have or 20,000, whatever the numbers. They have pretty safe jobs. On the other hand, Google also has 30, 40, 50 billion in cash. It has no idea how to invest that money in technology effectively. And so it prefers getting 0% interest from Mr. Bernanke. Effectively, the cash sort of gets burned away over time through inflation because there are no ideas that Google has on how to spend the money. So you have $50 billion at Google. Why don't you spend it on doing more in tech? Or are you out of ideas? And it's not, and I think Google does more than most companies. You're trying to do things with self-driving cars and supposedly with asteroid mining, although maybe that's just part of the propaganda ministry. But you're doing more than Microsoft or Apple or a lot of these other companies. And the fact that you're out of ideas, maybe it's a political problem. The government's outlawed things, but it still is a problem.
Dude, Teal did not give a fuck. Like that's why you bet on Palantir, dude. That's why you bet on Palantir. Teal was like, you guys, I'm gonna look you dead in your face, say that you have 50 billion in cash and that you don't know what the hell to do with it. Like that's wild, dude. And like, quite frankly, he was right, dude. He was right. What has Google done? I don't want to sound like I'm a Google bear, but it was really hard holding this damn stock, knowing that the world is changing. Remember that company I told you, Perplexity, guys? Perplexity. They raised 73 million. They're valued at 573 million. I don't know if you guys have used this app, but this is like, I mean, here's the website right here. I've actually never been on the website. This is the first time I'm using it. If you use the mobile app, like what does Palantir do? Okay, search. This is how they give answers. You see, you get an answer immediately, and then you get related questions, and then you get some links here. On mobile, it's a little bit better. Look, if I search videos, then we'll get some Palantir videos that are coming up. This app has been gaining so much traction. I mean, it is ridiculous the amount of people that are using Perplexity over Google. And it's not, the far majority of the world by any sense of the imagination, but there are people that are just not. Toby Luke, the Shopify CEO, he publicly tweeted the other day, said, I'm using Perplexity. I love this thing. It's way better than Google. It's scary, dude. And here, this is the good thing about Meta. If search starts to go down a little bit, where are advertisers going to go? They're going to go to Meta. They're going to go to Uber. That was up 10% on the day. Jank says, yet here we all are on YouTube. My thesis on YouTube is that Google makes no money off YouTube. I really don't think these guys make money off YouTube. Google, Uber right here is at, wow, Uber's up 14%, almost $80, 79, 25. Google has to pay for 500 hours of video uploaded every minute of every day. And that was in 2019. I would think that's probably close to 1,000 hours of video every minute. 99% of those pieces of content never get consumed, but it's never, they would never want to charge people to post on YouTube. So you have all this storage cost, you have all this compute cost, you have all this bandwidth cost, and then you make $9 billion a quarter on ads. My question is, how much of the $9 billion from ads is actually profit? Remember, Google did $84 billion of revenue and they did $20 billion of net income. So they have about a 20% ratio, right? 4-to-1 in terms of, or 1-to-4 in terms of their profit on top of their revenue. They did $9 billion in revenue off YouTube. We know they did $1,864 million off their cloud business. So 1/20th of the net income was cloud. So you got 19th, 20th left. You got 85% left, 90% left. I don't know if that came from YouTube. That probably came from the search business more than anything, which is like the actual business that did $48 billion last year. So I'm not saying YouTube's not important, but YouTube can't be the thing you base your investment thesis on. Google, dude. There's no way. There's no way. YouTube's awesome, but there's no way it's YouTube. But maybe YouTube's helping, but I don't know if it's helping the most. Nvidia after hours. Nvidia's at 737. Nvidia's fine. Nvidia's barely bad after hours. Nvidia's good. Is Upstart worth buying the dip on? No. No. Just no. No. The answer is no. That's it. The answer is no. Google could probably lay off a huge amount of useless staff. Okay, so here's what Google's gonna have to do. Then I'll get out of here, guys. Google will have to issue a dividend. Google will have to lay off about 10 to 20,000 people. And Google will have to finally create some type of revenue stream outside of search. At this point, given the bureaucracy of the company and given the politics of the company and the culture of the company, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I don't know. So it's going to be tough. Jonathan says, until they take all the education content and start their own accredited colleges using users' open source uploads, they will create YouTube University. Is already in the zeitgeist, not a stretch. They turn it into education. I don't think, dude, like people barely want to pay $40,000 a year for regular college. Like YouTube college is like, yeah, maybe you're going to get some certifications they can give out to people, but the margin on that would be worse than I think their ad business. YouTube is great because it's like cash pie for Google, but I don't think they make a lot of money on it. If they turn it into some university thing, like maybe they'll make some money, but dude, education is not the play here. In the world where Nvidia is selling GPUs, Google's play cannot be, we're going to sell education to people through YouTube. Like there's no way. There's no way. YouTube's just a free library of content for everyone in the world to use. And some people like me are stupid enough to pay for premium because we love using it so much. But the far majority of the 2 billion users don't fucking pay for YouTube. They just sit through the ads, right? So Google has to make sure that business is optimized. And attention is more competitive than ever. And so it's just, YouTube's not the thesis. Search is seemingly harder to be the thesis. So what's the thesis on Google? What is it? We'll have to talk about this tonight on Finance Junkies. Celsius is up about $63. Bitcoin 51,790. Let's check on Robinhood. Palantir is still up after hours 25.22. Robinhood is down 13.31 after hours, down 0.452%, and Palantir is at 25.21. All right, not bad, guys. I'll be back at 8 p.m. So in about 3 hours, and we're gonna watch Karp's new interview in the World Government Summit. So we'll be watching that. We'll be reacting to it from 8 to 9, and then 9 to 10, we'll have Finance Junkies. This is a hell of a news day. We got Tesla news with this ownership stake. We got Google. We got Apple sell-off. We got Palantir going great. I mean, or at least holding 25. So we'll see what ends up happening. Robinhood obviously had a pretty good day. And we got a new Karp interview. So 8 p.m., I'll be back, and we'll analyze the Karp interview. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I will see you guys in a couple hours, and then we'll keep going from there. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.